Hello, this is Rick Reardon, and in this short video announcement, I'm going to explain the role of case mix MSDRGs and how they relate to accurate ICD-10-CM coding. Okay, in this case study, we're taking a look at some codes and some audits to take a look at increasing the case mix index. Again, the case mix refers to the diversity and severity of the patients that are treated, right? So in this case, what do we see? First of all, we see a few obvious things that some people have already caught up on, and they are, we only code things once. So this code of N18.6 should only appear once. Then we also see that hypertension I-10 is coded as the principal diagnosis for each one, even though if we look at the highlighted diagnoses, it's clear that chronic kidney disease or end-stage renal disease is always present. So how does this influence reimbursement? I would encourage you to read the coding guideline that I'm going to put on this announcement and take a look at, are these all coded correctly? If you've taken ICD-10-CM coding, you'll probably recall this, right? But there's a specific guideline. And where this actually impacts reimbursement is that if you don't code this correctly, you're potentially costing a medical center tens of thousands of dollars. So you need to look at these patient scenarios, the diagnoses, look at patterns. Some of this we've already talked about in this announcement. And if 46% of the cases have the same coding error, what is going to potentially be the impact? You may want to take a look at and go ahead and see if you can do some research to include on the impact of coding hypertension with chronic kidney disease and end-stage renal disease. So in your summary, you're going to basically discuss some of these things. You're going to discuss what the case mix is and how does it matter. You're going to look at the impact of coding chronic kidney disease or ESRD with hypertension. There's a specific guideline. I'm not going to get into what it is and how it impacts. I'm going to leave that to you. And then the basic things you should always do with your papers: proofread, put the citation in APA per the instructions, and so on. I hope you find this helpful. There's some additional links and materials that you might find useful involving the coding guidelines. Thank you so much for watching. Please reach out with any questions you may have on this assignment. Bye now.